Hey everybody, JRC99US coming at you from my iPad 2 again. Well, today I'm going to discuss a topic that I really wanted to discuss a little while ago, but I didn't really have a lot of time. I am going to talk about Jon Stewart and his liberal agenda. So the reason I wanted to talk about Jon Stewart is just recently I was watching some videos about Jon Stewart's interview with Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday. I watched the interview myself, not using YouTube, and boy, it sure did reveal a lot of stuff that I already knew about Jon Stewart. Back in 2003, I was part of this forum known as Protest Warrior. If any of you guys know who that is, well, Protest Warrior. Anyway, I started noticing a pattern with the leftists that have joined us on the forum. They were more than welcome to discuss their opinion and talk about the stuff that they wanted to talk about. One of the guys I knew, his name was just straight up socialist, so he wrote all the things about how bad conservatives are and Republicans and blah 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 blah. Well, anyway, I started noticing a pattern that he was telling me that that Fox News, of course, is a racist, biased, homophobic news channel, but then he told me that he was getting his news from a more credible source. This source, I didn't understand why he would even mention it on the forum. He told me that his source was Jon Stewart in The Daily Show. Now, I did watch The Daily Show, and it was really funny. When I first heard about it, it came on, and I thought it was going to be about a half hour, however long it is. I think it's about a half hour long version of the Weekend Update from Saturday Night Live, which I always loved watching when SNL came on. And it was pretty funny. But then when I started noticing socialists, well, let's say information station, I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? So after watching it for a while, I did notice the same pattern of why socialists decided to use Jon Stewart as his credible news source for all the information that he got. I mean, I was expecting something like CNN, which is a typical response, or MSNBC, which is almost a slight typical response from the left, but when they try to sound moderate, yeah, I'm using those again. When they try to sound moderate, they always go with CNN. Or I've even heard some people say CNBC, but that's a rarity in itself because they like to focus on business, and you know what happens when socialists get mixed up with capitalists. Usually it doesn't work out, but except for China. Now, I won't go into too much about all the interviews I saw with Jon Stewart on Fox News or just watch his show from time to time. The thing is that I am going to talk about is the interview with Chris Wallace and how revealing it was that, well, Jon Stewart was a leftist. Who'd have thunk? The thing that I'm always shocked and amazed about is when every time I make criticism about Jon Stewart, that if Jon Stewart does do something that is leftist or not moderate, as he considers himself to be, I point that out, and then as soon as I do that, it's just like throwing a raw steak in the middle of a pack of rabid dogs. Oh my gosh, you don't understand that Jon Stewart, he knows all, he sees all, and blah 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 blah. He's not part of the machine, man. You know, he's not part of the what I call the corporation, man. You know, it's just a whole. When somebody says that they're moderate, and then all of a sudden you got leftists coming out left and right, no pun intended, when they come out of the woodwork, that's more like it, when they come out of the woodwork, they want to talk about how much everybody else sucks except for Jon Stewart. That's coming from the left. Now, I will give credit to Jon Stewart for finally admitting that he's a comedian. I mean, what I mean by finally? He's been on the air for at least 8 years, and you know how I know at least 8 years? Is because my buddy, socialist, wrote that he was getting his credible news source from The Daily Show on Comedy Central, and that was back in 2003. So, since that was 8 years ago, that's the only way I can guess how long The Daily Show's been on. I'm sure it's been on longer, but if you're going to discredit me by not knowing exactly how many seasons of The Daily Show is on Comedy Central, then maybe you should really totally think of a new process of trying to debate me. Okay, so now you've heard from your almighty newscaster, Jon Stewart, who says, I am not a newscaster, I'm a comedian. Here's the thing, people. If you're going to criticize me for pointing out what Jon Stewart says or what Jon Stewart does, and you're going to completely ignore it because you don't like the fact that a conservative, as myself, points out that Jon Stewart has some kind of liberal bias, then that means you're just ignoring all of reality, and there's no worthy cause for you to debate or say that you have a more credible news source. So with that out of the way, the thing is that Jon Stewart really has shot himself in the foot. The guy who's been saying for at least 8 years that he's a moderate now comes out and says stupid things like MSNBC is maybe or getting close to being a leftist propaganda machine, or the New York Times is completely unbiased. Really? Anyway, New York Times, and then the mainstream media, no, they've never had any kind of bias. Really? Come on. I mean, seriously, the guy has an agenda. If somebody's considered themselves a moderate, he could have at least said yes. I mean, everybody knows the New York Times has a liberal bias. We've known for the past 50 years that the mainstream media has went completely left-wing. And MSNBC, really? So that's enough to kind of really present himself. If a guy is saying that 3 major sources of liberal biases are not bias at all, that's really something. And especially going after Fox News. I mean, a lot of people pointed out, there was one person who pointed out that Chris Wallace admitted that Fox News has a right-wing bias. Because Chris Wallace stated, and I'm kind of paraphrasing this, is that Fox News got these ratings because people wanted to hear the other side of the story. And that's true. Everybody knows that the mainstream media has been using a leftist bias for at least 50 years. Well, let's say like for the starting point of Fox News, they've been doing it for maybe 40 years, okay? So they've been doing it for 40 years. And they come out saying, hey, we will report one side and we'll report the other side, knowing that the left has complete control over just one side of the news. So Fox News comes along, and then all of a sudden it becomes right-wing because they want to report the other side of the story. That is actually fear tactics. It's the same kind of stuff that was used in Nazi Germany. When people would write things against Hitler and everything like that, the Nazis would start this kind of propaganda to say that this is not a credible news source because it's bias. Yes, they did use that, and yes, I did say Nazis. So one last note that I want to point out. Jon Stewart is not a moderate. He's proven it with the Rally to Sanity tour, to calling a Fox News a right-wing propagandist machine. For a moderate, that is highly inappropriate. And also for saying that the 3 major sources of liberal biases in the United States are not liberal at all, just really points out that who Jon Stewart is. So anybody who's watching this, I am not going to let you put on comments. I'm not even going to let you vote on this. This is me just telling you how it is. If you don't like it, then fine. Go to another video. Or if you're subscribing to me and you don't like this, you can unsubscribe. I really don't care. I'm here to tell you exactly who Jon Stewart is. And if you're going to tell me that your news source is a comedy satire news program, then you are completely on a different planet from the rest of reality. Yes, I get my news from Fox News, but I also get it from the Drudge Report. That's one of my favorites, and other blogs online. And you know what I do? You know who I also get my news from? I also get it from Glenn Beck. And I know you guys are going to say, oh no, Glenn Beck, the crazy Mormon. Well, here's the thing that Glenn Beck does, and it's really cool that he points this out. No other journalist, I don't even think in the history of journalism when it came to TV broadcast, at the end of each show that he does, or at the end of each segment he does on his show, he'll tell you either 1 or 2 things, or both. The first one is, don't take my word for it. The second one is, do your own homework. And that's what I do. I go and I look these things up. I want to see if that there is proof that what is being reported and it's actually true. So, if you don't like this video and you want to try to spam it with a whole bunch of negative votes and grotesque and inappropriate language in the comments, you're not going to do that. You're not going to be able to ballot stuff my video like what Ron Paul supporters do to me when I have something negative to say about Ron Paul, which will be one of my next videos coming up. So anyway, everybody, peace out to my video bloggers. I hope to put some more videos out, some more music videos and everything like that. I'm having some problems. I have 2 computers. One, the fan is dying on it. That was my main source of all my videos. And the second one, I'm trying to get this video program loaded up. It's a Linux-based Ubuntu netbook, and I'm trying to get this program loaded up. If anybody could help me, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to upload Ubuntu Studio onto my, it's a System 76 netbook, and I'm trying to get it loaded on onto it, and I've been downloading ISO. Anyway, if you guys want to, if anybody knows how to help me with trying to get an ISO onto here, I know I have to get a CD-ROM or anything like that, but if anybody else knows about how to set up programs on Ubuntu Linux, can you just shoot me an email? That'd be great. Alright everybody, so one last time, the moral of this story is Jon Stewart is not a newsman. He's a comedian first, and he's a liberal comedian. So if you're using him as a news source, I would highly suggest you get yourself educated and change the channel.